Hello, Week to Warrior. Welcome to the next lesson in the course. So, this lesson, I want you guys to really start to think about the proper human development and, excuse me, guys, proper human development and what that looks like and what that doesn't look like. So, think about the last video and last lesson we talked about the traditional societies and societies that are traditionally healthy, physically healthy societies. And these societies, there's a pattern of human development that happens. This pattern is the mother has a healthy lifestyle and that forms its own pattern, but she becomes pregnant at an early age, like an early healthy age for child rearing. While healthy, gives birth vaginally, conferring lots of good microbes to the child, breastfeeds the child, conferring more microbes to the child. The child crawls on the ground, learns to crawl, little first bridges, and then rolls over, holds their head up, crawls, turns out all these developmental milestones, learns all these movement milestones, isn't plopped in front of a TV, isn't put in a walker thing or things that force kids to walk on naturally. Learning to walk naturally, starting off drinking mother's milk, developing a proper gut microbiome, being introduced to good, healthy, natural foods, building up nutrients, building up metabolism, being curious about the world, exploring the world. And I think a lot of the places that we go wrong in the modern society, we go right in a lot of places because people aren't dying as much, which is always good. But the places that we go wrong are daycare. I think daycare is really suboptimal because people workers will even tell you the kids aren't getting enough attention. They don't get one-on-one attention. It's not really loving attention. They're just kind of thrown in there, survive, whatever. Don't think daycare is very good for kids' psychological development. Don't know as much about that though, but really school in general and putting kids in this place where they're just sitting down, made to sit down, very unnatural environment, forces kids to basically it kind of beats the winner effect out of kids, which is really bad. But it also forces kids to be sedentary, which probably really contributes to a lot of metabolic problems. They're all sitting down, contributes to a lot of developmental problems with the spine. Kids eating really poor breakfast cereals. A lot of the food marketed to kids is just nonsense. And I think, well, the research shows very clearly that the key thing that influences spinal muscular development and the development of the face properly, the palate, teeth, skeleton is vitamins and minerals not being deficient. Lots of people are very deficient, and that deficiency can be caused by anti-nutrients in the food, caused by weird ways that our cells behave when we eat things like high fructose corn syrup, causes issues in the way their cells metabolize and use ATP, which is obviously a huge issue because that's the source of our energy. But basically, where human beings are brought off this path of optimal development, even in terms later on in life, people should continue developing themselves athletically and health wise in their 20s and 30s and 40s, but they just go in cubicles, they commute, they drink tons of alcohol, they don't get enough sleep. People don't treat themselves as developing things that could be cared for and brought into a more beautiful way of functioning, a higher way of functioning if cared for properly. And that's really a shame because that ends up with people not developing properly. I mean, there's a whole thing in Ultramind Solution about, and in the Westin A. Price Foundation's book, Nourishing Babies, I think, or Nourishing Traditions for Children. But basically, it's how to eat for your children, how to give your children food so they develop properly mentally, how autism is significantly linked to nutrient deficiencies, omega-3 deficiencies. Really look at all this stuff. Make sure you're getting enough nutrients for you, your kids, so your brain can work properly, so your kids' brain can develop properly. In the womb, it really matters. All these things really matter. And when we're deprived of these things, we develop issues, and we're deprived of the natural human developmental process. We develop movement issues, we develop gut issues, we develop interpersonal issues. Even though people back in the day used to be in large tribes, large villages of people where you kind of knew everyone, so your kids would have many people looking after them, free of parents. less stress for parents, more socialization for children, less depression for the kids because kids, like people are having more kids, so your kids would be able to interact with other people. Like I have more friends. Kids could play outside. Like now kids can't play outside. Like that's crazy. Literally, if your kids are playing outside alone, like 5, 6, 7 year olds, like grown kids playing outside alone, people call the cops on them. 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, that was the norm, kids playing outside. Now people will call the cops on kids who are playing outside. So we live in a very anti-children, anti-physical activity society where children playing outside is viewed as suspicious and something worthy of investigation. Bizarre society we live in. Great things for human development. But yeah, give them iPads. Just give them an iPad, shut them up, stick them in the corner. Children should be seen and not heard. No wonder we have so many issues. So yeah, I think that like we do a lot to damage development as much as we do to try to help development in this culture. So seeing how the world doesn't really serve our development, doesn't really serve and hasn't been serving our development is good. So we stop following the mainstream, stop following what everyone else is doing, stop like looking at everyone else eating garbage and poison and thinking, oh, I'm missing out. I'm missing out in the poison because you're not. I mean, it's poison. I mean, if you want to like follow the way of the rabble and just go eat poison and die and have your generations come to nothing, then like go for it. But I mean, generally speaking, you're investing in yourself. You invested in yourself. You put money into yourself. That puts you immediately in like the top percentile of people because you're willing to invest in yourself. You're willing to take action. You're willing to actually consume the content and take action on the content. And I'll try to understand the content. I really, at this point, just focus on understanding the content and internalizing it. The action comes later with the group engagement, with the understanding. Focus now on the understanding. But I take it that you don't want that. You don't want to just go with the rabble and have your genes come to nothing and have your children be fat, obese, sterile people who can't function, just invalids. I mean, that would, nothing against invalids. I mean, I just don't want to be one. I don't want my kids to be one. So don't follow the way of the people because it just leads to being the overweight, disgusting people at Walmart that like I want to help, but it's like the zombie apocalypse. I feel like we're living through the zombie apocalypse. Like everyone's brains are just off and they're just like you're awake, like they're just like, right, drink the colada. Don't you want the Dunkin' Donuts and the McDonald's? Brain, surrender your brain. Watch CNN with us. People's lives are a tragedy. They just don't do any of the things they plan on doing. And like little beyond that, they just die in miserable health. Like not even like who cares about like achieving your dreams? You know what I mean? Like screw that. I just don't want to spend all my life in pain and poor health, crapping myself, smelling bad, being confined to my house, unable to live my life because my health is terrible because I eat poison because I do what everyone does. So don't do what everyone does. Live a more natural lifestyle that's in line with proper human development. Like walk every day, walking. How babies need to do all their movements to develop properly. You're the same way. You need to walk. You need to swim. You need to climb. You need to hike. You need to like run. You need to like, if you're married, engage in relations. Like you gotta be active. You know, it's all part of proper human development. If you don't do that stuff, then you're kind of abnegating life and life will abnegate you and then it'll leave you. You'll become a husk and you'll die and you'll just be dysfunctional and in pain, which you already are. I mean, you're already the byproduct right now. If you're watching this course, it's nuts. I mean, you're already the byproduct of dysfunctional human development. So just recognize those areas. Say, okay, maybe I wasn't breastfed, whatever. Like, I mean, get over it. But like, maybe I didn't eat the best diet growing up. Maybe I wasn't exercising growing up. Maybe I was spent all my time inside growing up. Maybe I grew up in the city growing up. Maybe I had toxic this or whatever. Like, but get over it and then just like take ownership of it and get over it by literally getting over it. Like, don't just say you got over it in your head, but like say, hey, look, this is an obstacle and I'm going to get over the obstacle. I'm going to just get over it. And now it's behind me. I'm no longer dealing with it. It's no longer causing me pain and suffering. So now I'm like living my life and feeling good. And that's the perspective you should develop. Start looking at the patterns that produce health, the patterns that have produced the sickness that you're experiencing right now, and how we can create patterns that facilitate proper human development from 0 to 100 years old. I want to be stronger at 100 than I am today. And you should too.